All right, welcome back, everybody. You are tuning in for Nail the Numbers, the GAB Lab. We are in segment 3 with Ron Robichaud, the one and only, heeding the call of entrepreneurs and restaurateurs across the country. So thanks again, Ron. It is great to have you back here for this third segment. And this one is what we're calling the quick fire round, right? So we're going to go quickly on this. We really just wanted to give you some ideas that can help you with top line revenue growth, to just kind of, stay the course here through COVID and make sure that you can stay in business through this. So again, welcome back, Ron. Where do you want to start? What's the first idea on the menu today?
All right, well, let's take a look at gift cards. You've got a lot of businesses right now that people are working in this sector and they're vulnerable in a sense, so that businesses are providing them with either sort of danger pay or whatever you may want to call it. So we've had restaurants go to some of these businesses and say, listen, we want to stay open as a business, as a restaurant in your community, please support local. So why don't you offer gift cards to your employees as opposed to just giving them more pay and a gift card to come to our restaurant and to buy some meals. It may not pay the whole meal, but it'll pay a good portion of it and they just have to pay the difference. So that seems to be working quite well. And the more businesses that you're approaching, the more that are willing to support you. So it's just getting out there and having some conversations.
Awesome. Gift cards. And I think there's a lot of organizations now too that are really campaigning to support local, right? So getting them potentially to mention too, get out there, get your gift cards for your restaurants. Corporate sponsors. What do you mean by corporate sponsors?
Well, it's a little bit of the same thing, but this is it's a little bit of a different twist. So again, having some businesses that are supporting local business, supporting local restaurants, and it's simply that they sort of partner together so that they're putting events on or those type of things. So again, it's helping the restaurant to be able to stay open, to prepare some foods. And it might be for a specific cause. It might be for, a Relay for Life, or it might be for, any kind of sporting events or whatever. And there's not that many around now, but the things that are being done is that they're getting corporate sponsors in order to support the restaurant, to prepare their meals so that people are getting something for something. So it's a little bit of it's just a way of giving back to the community instead of just giving a donation.
Beautiful. Love it. And then, so I'm throwing this one in there because it sparked something for me. It's private events, right? And hosting. I mean, this is the time where you're down your capacity, right? You're down 50%. So closing the restaurant for corporate events, right? Letting them know your space is available as long as it adheres to whatever that number is, right? That our government has in place right now. I think it's 30. I could be wrong. This is so fluid and it changes all the time, but putting your space up there and out there, letting people know that it's available.
Well, what we're noticing as well too is that a lot of businesses don't want to let their employees go out for lunch because, to try and contain, they don't want them to be all around everywhere. So They're having these restaurants cater to them for lunches and that. So it's working quite well. So again, it's just providing more services to the businesses and the business community. So you can call it sponsorship in a sense, but it's a way of, keeping the restaurants open, but they're bringing the foods to the businesses. So Whether it's meeting or those type of things or lunches, so it's preventing people from going out all over the place.
So smart. And, I was at an event yesterday where they had this brilliant idea of it was all takeout food, but it was all packaged for each consumer. So it wasn't a tray of sandwiches, right? It wasn't a tray it was just, here's your popcorn, your drink, your sandwich, your cookie, all in one bag. It's yours, limited contact. So very smart ideas there. What about, and we talked a little bit about this in an earlier segment, but frozen and prepared meals.
So a lot of the restaurants, they have more capacity now than probably the demand, for just preparing foods for whatever people are calling in for. So this is to be able to build up a little bit, to prepare more food than what the demand is, but then they may be able to what we've seen is that they've been negotiating with small stores, like whether it's grocery stores or, just the mom and pop sort of type of stores and that. So they're preparing meals, whether it's a pizza or whether it's lasagna or whether, and then what they're doing is they're selling it sort of wholesale, not necessarily losing any margin, but selling it wholesale to the grocery store, the little business, and then in turn they are selling it to consumers. Now, the other thing we've seen also is that some of these restaurants have put a cooler or a frozen a freezer right in their entrance so that people can come in and just pick some of those frozen prepared meals right off the shelf without paying any tax because it's not hot. And that way there, some consumers feel that they're saving, and at the same time, it's just moving more product out from their business.
Love it. And so I know in in one of our earlier segments, we talked about upselling. And one of the examples that I've seen is actually it's a restaurant or a food establishment in Alberta called Sunterra. They had this brilliant idea of taking a meal, but all of the meals, so everything that you would upsell it with, right? So your salad, your sides, your buns, your dessert, the entree itself, and they put that in a grab bag, and they, here's what the grab bag is worth. It's $50, but you don't even need to go to the coolers and buy everything. Grab bag's there. It can go out to the curb. It goes right into the car. And then, to that point, it reminds me, and I started to see this being done last year before COVID, but the number of restaurants that were actually doing meals for Thanksgiving through COVID. There, a restaurant called Sweet Cup up in oh, forgive me, I think it's Tisdale, did this brilliantly through COVID. She did Easter meals. It was the entire meal with all of the baked goods. It was this big baked basket that she just delivered to families in that area. So with that too, you not only are selling the item, but you're getting the money up front, right? Because you're taking pre-orders. So just another idea for people to consider there.
And in Nova Scotia, some people are actually including liquor in that package, in that bundle, a bottle of wine, or sometimes it's just a few beers, or it might be because now they've relaxed the rules a little bit because people can't come to their full service restaurants. So they're allowing the restaurants and takeouts to allow them to supply the liquor as well.
Oh, so smart. This is where, entrepreneurs are great at being creative, right? And this is where you've got to turn your creative juices on and come up with these ideas. What about... Yeah,
the
go
local
ahead.
golf course is selling more liquor this year than they ever did because of the takeouts.
Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's good margin on liquor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Margin is the name of the game, right? Profit.
Absolutely.
What about creating an experience?
Well, this is the thing where, we have an opportunity in life. Again, the world has changed, the way we buy, the way we purchase things, the way we're going to consume things. Now we're looking for experiences. We're not going, I've heard a lot of people, we're not going on these trips. We're not spending $10,000, $15,000 on cruises and going around the world. They're staying home, but they're looking for experiences. So some people are actually bringing in a chef in their own home from a local restaurant to prepare them a meal. And so there's things like this that are happening, using their own kitchen and everything else, but they sanitize and everything else, but it's a different type of experience. So they still have this disposable income. They want to do something different, so they're giving them just a different experience.
Oh, I love that, Ron. And I don't know what this would look like, but it reminds me of when I was living in BC, they did a really good job of cooking instruction, right? It wasn't just you cook with them, right? And here's the ingredients and everything that you need. So I love that idea. So many ways that we can create experiences. And, to that point too, it reminds me again of this drive-in experience that I had yesterday where you could see businesses partnering up. So it was a local, business support organization that was partnering up with restaurants to do the food, to offer the drive-in documentary, right? And typically this was done in a gala format, but we just need to go out on a limb and, like you said, create experiences, create partnerships, find ways to leverage community members and what they're great at. I can feel you want to say something here.
Yeah, if a restaurant is feeling sort of in the rut and not knowing where to go, why don't you invite 5 to 10 people, but have some good social distancing in your business. Give them a meal if you have to, and just it's like a focus group. What kind of things could we do for you? And just get different ideas coming in. And I think that would be like, you should never be stagnant. There should always be some, well, if people come up with 20 different ideas, they may not all be good, but if you start to evaluate those ideas, you can, and once you run out, get another group in, like, don't stop the process, be creative.
Yeah, beautiful. It reminds me of what we're doing right here, right? Like, we came with a couple of ideas, and as we're talking, there's more and more, avenues and arteries to go down.
Well, one of the businesses that I was in, every second week, I'd get the staff in and say, okay, what else could we do for our customers? And they always came up with something. And we always, this is why we quadrupled the sales in a year.
I love it.
It's just, and sort of, this was in the mid 80s, late 80s, where, you had some sort of depressions. So, I mean, there's always things you can do.
Yeah. And what reminds me of, in this documentary I was watching last night, Pineview Farms, a Saskatchewan business, kind of in the market for poultry and so raising chickens and then into the production piece. But they left with a really important comment, which was what really kind of kept them alive. A big piece of it through COVID was the fact that they had multiple customers, right? They had the consumer base, but they also had the corporate base. And so just something really for you to consider. Yeah, as we were talking about prepared meals, right? Is there another market for you to go after instead of just relying on, definitely our bread and butter, that consumer, but is there a corporate market there for you? And what are your thoughts? You had some great ideas on extending seasonality out east where you're at and what you've been seeing some of the restaurants do there.
Well, because of the limited space, they've had to cut back to 50% inside their restaurant. What they've gone is they've gone outside where they can. So they've put out outside patios, but now we're getting into the fall a little bit. So now they're putting a little bit of windbreakers and those type of things and putting radiant heaters and that, which doesn't cost a whole lot, but they're extending their season. Plus, people are much more comfortable by sitting outside than sitting inside. I'll give you an example. My wife and I had an anniversary here, 37 wedding anniversary on July 23rd. So we went to this one restaurant and it was cloudy a little bit in that. So we walked in and he said, we'd like to sit in the patio. We're not comfortable enough to sit inside. Well, I'm sorry, it looks like rain. So we're not going to open up the patio. So we walked out. So then we went to another restaurant, which was about 10 miles away. And we asked the same thing. Patio was closed. No problem. We'll set you the table. So they put a table, they put an umbrella, we spent $150 for a meal, my wife and I. And so, one restaurant lost out, the other one won. But it's the experience again. So they catered to us and it was outside. So these are the type of things that people need to, this is where staff need to be trained to be, what can I do for you? Is there something I can, within my control, that I can do? And there was no reason why the other restaurant couldn't have done that. But the manager or the owner probably wasn't there. So
yeah, thinking outside of the box, and it goes back to your point of just creating the customer experience, right? And if it wasn't pre-thought, just think in that moment of, because that's where the memories are. I bet you're going to remember that anniversary dinner more so than some of the other ones you had, right?
And we have a lot of wineries here, and we have about 18 wineries here within 15 minutes of us, and they're all open. And but as you come in, there's a stack of blankets. If you want to sit outside with a blanket, you're more than welcome to use one. And they'll wash them once they're gone. But I mean, so they're creating an experience. So they can be outside enjoying a glass of wine in the fresh air. But if it's cool, they've got blankets. They've got, they've got all kinds. They're catering to the customer. Beautiful. I think we just got to look at ways and how we can make their experience wonderful.
Absolutely. And I think too, I recently went up to Banff, and what I saw them do very well in Banff, and I think Saskatchewan's actually very good at this as well, is they really leveraged the local businesses, the wineries, the distilleries. We're seeing this, insurgence of these micro breweries that are popping up, right? And distilleries. And so on the menu, that's what they featured, right? And they featured drink menus, drink items that weren't just your rum and Coke. It was, this specific liqueur and whatever it was so it was just a way to promote local and make sure everybody gets through this and to the best of their ability. So
It's all it's all for medicinal purposes anyway.
exactly. So, brilliant ideas. I hope that gets the juices going, the creative juices going for those that are listening. I mean, I think we could talk about this for forever, right? This is part of the fun part, is the brainstorming part. But let's just bring it back to the numbers. I know this is everybody's like, oh, do we have to talk about numbers? Because we do need to talk about the return that you get for the effort in. Businesses, especially entrepreneurs, because we are creative, we love ideas, we're the butterfly chasers, we're the visionaries, but let's talk about your time/return on investment and what people really need to consider, restaurateurs, before they start going crazy on all these ideas.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, time is a resource that we don't have. We can't create. There's only a limited amount of time. When today is gone, it'll never come back. But what we have to recognize is the time that we're spending in our business is also the time that we're generating revenue for other personal obligations. So, we have to make sure that we're making enough menu as owners, as restaurant owners should be looking at it, that can they fulfill their personal obligation, financial obligations, so they can, feed the family and pay the bills and have a house to live under, or a roof to live under, and, and also put some money aside, like break even. Status quo is never an option. We always have to look at putting a little bit of money aside. It's sort of the same philosophy in business. I talk about 10% net profit in business. Well, on the personal side, 10%. If you put 10% aside of your income on the yearly basis, aside, by the age 55, I can almost guarantee you will be a millionaire. So, but the people aren't doing that. So, I mean, they're living check by check, and they're not putting any money aside. And, so we really have to budget some of those things. So running a household is no different than running a business, because you have revenue that comes in, which is your paycheck. And it's got to be enough to pay all the bills. So you got to make sure that the time you're putting into your business, you're being paid a fair market salary. And that needs to be incorporated into your calculations when we talk about numbers from a business perspective. So from the restaurant perspective, we're talking 30% for all of the food costs or direct costs, which includes all of the papers and sundry, not sundry, but condiments and everything else. And then when we talk about 30% labor, that 30% includes the owner's wages, okay? And then we have 30% to pay all of the other operating expenses, and we have 10% aside. That way there you can overcome these ebbs and lows. Listen, this pandemic, maybe some people are saying it's gonna last another 2 or 3 years. Before we really get to some normalcy. But then, so it's a new normal. So we need to adapt, we need to change. But there's a lot of people that are flourishing in this sector. There's a lot of people that have taken this as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to look at other options. And so they're actually taking advantage of that. Those that are just standing by and hoping for somebody to save them, that's going to be tough.
They might have already closed their doors, right? We're seeing a lot of that already. Oh, so there was so much in there that I want to dive into, but to keep it short for people, the one thing that has come up on every segment of this series of rural resistance for restaurateurs: pay yourself a salary. Listen, your business is not going to survive if you don't survive. You're the oxygen mask. You have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family at home. Otherwise, your business doesn't have a chance, right? And I know there's a lot of business owners that are just scraping by right now. So first and foremost, let's do that. And so the second piece that I just want to clarify for people, that as you're looking at these initiatives, so Ron, early on in that first piece, if you haven't watched it, go back and look at best practices, because Ron is suggesting that to be a best in sector performer in the restaurant business, even through COVID, we are looking for 30%. So your revenue comes in, 30% direct cost, 30% sales, 30%. No, how does this go, Ron? 30% direct cost, 30% indirect.
Yes, and 30% labor.
And 30% labor. Thank you. So 30, 30, 30, and then a 10% profit. So in that first series, we're talking about how you do that as a business. And what Ron is suggesting here now with these initiatives that you are contemplating, run the numbers for the initiative. What's the projected revenue? 30% direct cost, then 30% labor, 30% operating expenses, 10% net profit for that initiative. And if those numbers aren't adding up, it's probably not a good investment of your time, right? Do the numbers. It always comes back to the numbers. That's why we're all about nailing the numbers. What do you want to say, Ron?
If it's not 30, 30, 30, make changes in your business to make it 30, 30, 30. You can do that. Any business can do that.
Yes, yes, you can. And Ron is there to support you. He is your champion in this. He is the guy to speak to. So Ron, we've got your email down in the show notes, right? You've mentioned that's the best way for people to get a hold of you because you're out east right now. As always, if you're in the Southeast, please reach out to your friendly neighborhood community future sunrise team. They're there to support you, especially through all the different acronyms that we've got going on now between Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy and the business subsidies. I'm not even going to get into them all, but they are there for you. We so appreciate you watching this entire series, all 3 segments. This is here to help restaurateurs, those in business in the food industry, really kind of make it through these, and I don't want to say challenging times, because Ron, the other piece that you mentioned is that it's your perspective on this situation. Right? And there are clients, we both have clients that are thriving through COVID because they're seeing this as an opportunity to get super smart with where they're at. And Ron, you've given us so many invaluable tips, and you've got one more, I can tell. You've got something to say.
I just want people not to forget, if you're getting a wage subsidy, don't count that. That is gravy. You shouldn't base your business model on that wage subsidy. Operate your business as if you're not getting any subsidy. Then you will be fine.
So to clarify, you're saying don't include that in your income stream.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So all those other forms of income, I think that's a really great point, right? Because that does not speak to the efficiency of your business model.
That's going to run out one day, and you need to keep on operating without it.
Probably, well, I won't even speculate as to when that will run out because it's not factual, so I'll leave it. All right, so everybody, please, stay brave out there, stay bold and unabashedly profitable in your business. Profit is not a dirty word. It is your lifeline in business. It is what will allow you to ride this COVID wave. So please, please, please make profit the forethought, not the afterthought. Go out there, nail your numbers, get it done. Ron's available for you. Community Future offices are available for you. There's so many phenomenal organizations that we'll post in the show notes here. But Ron, thank you for your time and your generosity in Community Future Sunrise. Thank you for championing the series. So appreciate you and all that you do. And everybody stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for the opportunity.